it's a bird. No, it's a plane. No, it's the wrong quote. Okay, that was really dumb. Anyways, welcome to Nelson All Over Cards. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive look at one of the newest heroes that we have in Marvel Champions, and that is Angel. We're going to be talking about his kit, the cards that come in it, how they interact, a couple of the aspects, kind of rank those in terms of what he's least good in to best in, and he's good in all of them. Talk about kind of the overall ranking and thoughts. Now, this is going to be primarily a solo review, but I will include some multiplayer thoughts at the end of the video. So if you want to check that out, make sure you watch till the end, or there's going to be timestamps so you can jump around to the video to whatever part you want to see the most. That's going to be available to you. But let's go ahead and just kind of dive in and talk about Angel. On his alter ego, Warren Worthington has 12 hit points. This is a pretty beefy hit point pool, and we can utilize this to our advantage, and we'll talk a little bit about how we can do that here in a bit. He has a 6 hand size with 3 recovery, and then an action to heal 1 damage, limit once per round. And so you can flip down, heal a damage, you can recover for 3, but you don't have to exhaust to heal that 1 damage. So if you're coming down, it's at least 1 damage. When you flip back up, it's 1 more damage. It's a really non-flashy but pretty solid ability to have. When you flip his card over, and this is, when I say you flip the card over, he actually has 2 hero sides. He has Angel side and Archangel side when you unfold the card, but the hero side Angel is the small form, the tiny form, in like what we've seen with Ant-Man and Wasp. This is Angel. He has a 5 hand size. His stat line is a 2 thwart, 1 attack, 2 defense, and he has the Angel of Life response. That says after you play an aerial event, you get to draw a card. Now, this is a really strong ability. Drawing cards in a card game is going to be good, and this allows you to give more options. Also, in Marvel Champions, cards are your resources, so you're basically getting a discount or a rebate on your aerial event of 1 card, which is really, really solid. When you unfold the hero pamphlet, I guess, I don't know what to call it. When you unfold and see Archangel, he actually still has a 5 hand size. The detriment of like comparing to Ant-Man, when you flip up to giant form, Ant-Man goes down to a 4, Archangel still has a 5, but the detriment here is that he has an acceleration icon on this side, so you're going to be adding 1 threat extra during stage 1 of the villain phase, which isn't the biggest deal, honestly, with how much we have, or with how much thwarting power we have in this kit. Stat line on this side is a 0-2-3. He has the Angel of Death response. So Angel of Life, now we have Angel of Death. After we play a aerial event, we can deal damage equal to the cost of this event. It's good. It's like its own honed technique inside its own kit. No requirements, however, it is limited to once per phase. And so we can look at some of these higher cost aerial events, and we're going to get additional benefits for playing them in Angel. Angel is all about flying, and I think they hit the theme really well here with either drawing cards to get the rebate with the flying or dealing extra damage when you're an Archangel. Now let's talk about his signature kit. He has 15 cards that come with the signature, and you can probably expect that from the responses that we have on Angel and Archangel side that we're going to be seeing a lot of events here, and that is actually very, very true. The main attack event here is called Razor Dive. It's a 3-cost event that deals 6 damage. If you are an Archangel, you get an additional benefit. It gains piercing as well as overkill, and then also remember that after you play this, if it is the first time you triggered the Angel of Death ability, it would deal 3 more damage. So 3 for 6 typically looks like under that cost curve, but if we can hit the Angel of Death response as well, it's a 3 for 9, and it's flexible. You do not have to throw that 3 damage at the same target, and then also the overkill, the piercing can come in really, really clutch in specific scenarios. But Razor Dive is the attack. We have Natural Flight, which is the threat removal card. It's a 2-cost event that removes 4 threat from a scheme. If you're an Angel, you get to ignore the Crisis and Patrol keyword. And then again, I'm gonna probably not say it for all of these, but I think it's a huge part of the kit is the fact that if you're an Angel, you get to ignore Crisis and Patrol and draw a card. So you get a card back. So really, it's like a 1 cost for 4 threat removal, which is incredibly powerful. And then if you're in Archangel form, remove 4 threat. You don't get to ignore the Crisis and Patrol, but you can deal 2 damage after you play this card, meaning that it's going to be riding above the efficiency curve as long as you have not already triggered that response. He has Adaptive Plumage, which is an incredibly powerful card. It's a flexible card because it does different things based on what form you're in. It costs 3, and if you're an Archangel, you get to deal 4 damage to an enemy. Again, plus 3 for the cost, so 7, and stun that enemy. And then if you're an Angel, it's 3 threat, remove, and you get to confuse. This is very, very powerful, and what we'll talk about as we go through the video is that Angel has a lot of ways to recur his cards, and so you can lean into this status lock situation if you want to, or you can throw damage, you can recur different cards. We'll talk a lot about that, but this is a really nice way to lock the villain down. This is going to bring us to probably the most fun and probably the strongest card in his kit. Most of the cards in his kit are very, very strong, where I think Metamorphosis is the card that really elevates him to the next level. This is a 2-cost event that allows you to change form. This does not take your once per round form change thing. Action, words. It doesn't take your one form change action, so you're able to, flip down to Alter Ego, trigger some stuff, and then come back up, which is really powerful for solo play, but it also does other things. This costs 2, and it has a change form. Then if you are in this form, do X. So if you are in Alter Ego, if you're in Warren's turn, you get to draw a card. If you're an Angel, you get to remove 2 threats. Then you get to draw a card because your response triggers on the Angel side. Archangel, deal 3 damage, and then 2 more for the Metamorphosis response. So you are going to be all over the place, and part of the part of the challenge of Angel is the fact, or is trying to figure out where and how to get to the form that you need to be in, because you want to try and trigger all the responses you can. So if you can be flipping from Archangel to Angel every single turn and trigger both Angel of Life and Angel of Death, you're getting significant value, and this helps you do that. Metamorphosis is just an incredibly cool and fun card. He has a defense event called Aerial Agility. All of these have been aerial. It's a 1-cost event, and again, it's one of these cards where the formula is different based on the form you are in. If you are an Angel, you get to ignore the boost icons and effects, and then since the Angel of Life and Angel of Death abilities are once per phase, not per round, we are now in the villain phase, assuming that we're playing this on a standard villain activation against us. We get to draw again, or if you're an Archangel, you get a Tough and a Retaliate 1, then +1 for the card cost for the attack. So really solid defense card. Angel has a high health pool. I have found in a lot of my games I am winning faster than that health pool gets depleted, so this is a nice to have card. I think that this card probably gets a little bit more use in multiplayer, but in solo it can be really, really powerful. We do have a special resource card for Angel. It's called Avian Anatomy. I love special resource cards. I think that the resource cards are a area of the game design wise that is probably the most interesting to me. How you can figure out how to make cards have special abilities based on how and when you spend them. This is one of those. It says it's a wild resource. When you spend it to play an aerial event, you get to add that event back to your hand. So it's effectively Miss Marvel, right? We get to pull our events back and then either play them again, use them as resources. I love using this with Metamorphosis because then I'm flipping all over the place. I really like it with all of them, but Metamorphosis is really, really fun. Most of his kit is events. He has 2 cards, I guess the 2 resources, plus 1 support and 1 upgrade. His support is called Worthington Industries, and it says you can exhaust Worthington Industries to shuffle an aerial card in your discard pile back into your deck. So when I was talking about ways to recur some of these events, this is a way to do that. Now, it does not have to be an aerial event. It is just an aerial card, and it does not have to be tied to Angel's kit either. So if you have Wasp, if you have Nadia in your discard pile who's in the aerial aggression ally, you can use Worthington Industries to shuffle Wasp back into your deck. You can do it with allies. You can do it with anything that's aerial. A lot of the times it's going to be my Metamorphosis. It's going to be my Adaptive Plumage, so I can stun, confuse, but it's pretty good. It also has the effect that if you are in Alter Ego, you get to draw a card. So roll down with Metamorphosis, draw a card because you played that. Worthington Industries gets to shuffle something back in and draw a card. And this is something that I had a hard time seeing, and I had a couple of people help me out with this. We'll talk about the specific combos that they helped me out here with in a second, but it was the fact that Angel can just draw a stupid amount of cards is what's going to make him so very powerful and so very flexible. Now, his upgrade is one of the key pieces to his kit. So if we think about some heroes that have very specific upgrades or very specific cards that they want to get onto the table, and it's a different game if they have it on the table or if they don't. I'm thinking Ant-Man's helmet, friction resistance for Quicksilver. This is one of those cards. This is called Techno Organic Wings, and it has 2 effects. You can exhaust it if you're an Archangel to discount the next aerial event you play by 2, which is incredible value for a 3-cost upgrade, or if you're an Angel, you get to ready your hero. This card is so great that we will probably want to run Superpower Training just to make sure that we can get this into play early in the game, and he has the chance to get this card out. Now, this is his only upgrade. This is his only one that Superpower Training can come with, but it is worth it because he has major threat removal, and so you put that player side scheme out, you're going to be able to take care of it very easily and get that superpower or the Techno Wings out soon. So if you get them in your opening hand and play them, you're going to have a good game. The last card that we have not talked about today, and I tried to figure out how to fit this card in. Sometimes when I'm talking about these cards, I like to try and make it sound and flow well, and Psylocke is his signature ally, and it really doesn't fit into with everything that he's trying to do. Now, Psylocke is a really good ally, but I find myself not playing her as much as I am playing with the aerial stuff that Angel is built around. But Psylocke is a 3-cost 1/1/3 ally that has a activation that says after Psylocke attacks, if you're in Angel form, you get to heal 1 damage from Psylocke, or if you're in Archangel form, you get to ready your hero. You can also kind of Voltron Psylocke. So with her ability to heal herself after she attacks, you can throw a ton of upgrades on her and kind of let her just sit on the table and do a lot of stuff, or a lot of damage and a lot of yeah, I guess just a lot of damage. But what I have found is that Psylocke is slower than the tempo that a lot of the Angel decks want to hit, and so I don't find myself playing Psylocke that frequently. Let's transition into talking about his cost curve. Now, we did a video, Villain Theory and I did a video around the cost curve, so if you're interested in more deep dives on what a cost curve is, you can check out the link in the top of the video now. It's also going to be down below in the video description. But the cost curve is the number of cards at each cost in the kit. He's actually really high. He's tied for the 4th highest cost curve in the game as of now, with 2.23 cost per card. A few things that help with this, and why I don't think it's a huge hindrance to him, is because he has some incredibly powerful card draw with his Worthington Industries, Avian Anatomy. He gets his cards back when he plays them. Angel's Response, be able to draw his cards with Life and Angel of Life. So even with that high cost curve, he's getting a good number of rebates and some access to pay for them, which is what brings us down. Now, the other way that we can help with this cost curve, and this is a nice transition into talking about the basic cards that Angel likes to run in his kit or in his deck build, is a card that we got in this pack called Power of Flight. This doubles the number of resources. It's a printed lightning resource when you're paying for aerial cards. We have 11 targets before adding any cards into Angel's deck, and what I've found is that a lot of the deck builds, you just want to throw aerial cards into his deck. If you just mash aerial cards into a deck, you're going to be okay. And so adding this doubles, you can have up to 3 of these. I typically land around 2 copies of this Power of Flight and then run the doubles. I always run the doubles before I run the Power of Flights. I'm sure there's some niche circumstance out there where that's not going to be the case, but as of now, doubles come first, Power of Flight. And we have some great Aspect Aerial cards that those can pay for his kit cards or the Aspect Aerial cards. Hey, it's Editing Nelson. Just wanted to drop in and say that I totally forgot to talk about Team Building Exercise. Team Building Exercise works well in Angel because he has so many aerial cards. He's also aerial traded. So anytime that I'm running like the Power of the Flight or the Power of the Mind, I'm also looking at including Team Building Exercise. So just wanted to drop in and say Team Building Exercise, good for Angel. Speaking of a basic aerial ally that we got, and this is similar to White Fox for Domino. Cannonball feels like White Fox for Domino, where I'm pretty much always going to be running Cannonball in my Angel decks. He's a 3-cost 2/2/2 ally. He takes 2 consequential damage for every single activation, his thwart or his attack, but you reduce that damage based on how many aerial cards in your hand. This is really easy for him not to take damage. Once you put him into play or get him into play, you play him or you call for backup or whatever. However you get him into play, you're probably going to have 2 aerial cards in your hand just based off of how many aerial cards we're throwing into this deck. And if you don't, then he can hang out or he can take 1 consequential. It's really easy for him not to take damage. And the flexibility of just having a 2/2 out there is really, really solid, since he's going to be out there for the rest of the game. Another card that came in his pack is Soaring Acrobatics. This is a card that I like. I need to mention it here. This is a card that is pretty much built for aerial heroes, but really kind of feels like it belongs in Angel. What you do is you exhaust the card to add +1 to a stat. It's very flexible to a basic power use. It's very flexible, but I don't know. For some reason, I don't know if this card doesn't excite me. It is good. I mean, it's like combat training to Armored Vest and a Heroic Intuition all kind of combined into one. Now, you can only do it one because you have to exhaust it. But I don't know. It's just not exciting to me. And I think that's more of a fun bias setting in for me rather than a power bias. I am running this in most of my Angel decks because that damage does add up over time. I guess like the only caveat that I would put to that is that if I'm going for a rush strategy, and we'll talk about rush here in a second, this doesn't belong in the deck. Rush is going to be so quick that you're probably not ever going to get the value that you need out of this card because you're going to be over in 2 or 3 turns. So that would be the caveat. Let's transition into the alter ego stuff. And Angel loves the alter ego stuff. He has Confuse in his kit. He can also go down to alter ego with Metamorphosis and pop back up. So you're not stuck in alter ego, waiting for that villain to scheme, dreading the draw of the advanced card. You don't have to deal with that with Angel. And I want to say special thanks to Journeyman and Nocturnal Duck here for helping me see this combo. I was really struggling with Angel before this, and then they kind of helped me see that this is how Angel is supposed to run, and that really opened my eyes to the power and the strength of Angel. So when you go down, check this out. You can trigger cards like X-Mansion and Crew Quarters where you get to heal 1, and then you can trigger his action. So whenever you flip down, every single turn you can heal 3 once you have those supports and then his just his basic activation out. So I'm not defending that much. I take damage, I can flip down, I can heal for 3. If I'm staying down, next turn I heal for 3 more. That's 6 without doing anything, without having any impact on the game. Then you have Weapon X and X Bunker for card draws. Weapon X, you discard cards until you get a identity specific card. X Bunker is a new card that we got. You look at cards equal to the number of cards in the side scheme and they get to draw one of those. And so if we're running Superpower Training and we're thwarting down Superpower Training, or if we're bringing another side scheme to the table, it's at least a card draw. Minimum. Then Worthington Industries can get you a card draw. Mutant Education, you can play, shuffle some cards back up. Once we have X-Mansion, we get a card draw there. Now it's net 0. It's net 0, but it does replace itself, and you can shuffle some of those key pieces back into your deck. And then whenever you flip back up to hero form, either Angel or Archangel, you can trigger Moira, where you get to draw another card. This is where Angel is a little game breaking, and if you can set it up correctly and you can just let it go, because of the ability to put the right cards back in your deck and draw them pretty frequently, Angel is flexible and he can win a lot of matchups. He's a really, really strong hero. We'll talk about the overall ranking, but first I want to talk about our aspect ranking. What I will say is that he is fantastic in every single one of these aspects. So when I'm ranking these in like 4th to best aspect, don't take this 4th aspect and say, oh, he's bad in Justice. He's not. He's really good in Justice, but he's just better in some of the other aspects. So, but in 4th place, we have Justice. And Justice is an amazing aspect. It's all about threat mitigation, right? But Angel is so good at thwarting. He can thwart with adaptive plumage. He can thwart with natural flight. He gets a ready and he can thwart 4 just off his basic activations. Justice is piling onto something that Angel already excels at. And our main aerial targets here are like Yaw and Roll and Agile Flight, which I think is honestly overkill in the threat mitigation for most solo scenarios. That being said, Angel Justice in a multiplayer setting seems like he's going to be an absolute beast. I've actually not been able to play him in Justice in a multiplayer yet, but I feel like he could bring the threat mitigation needed to the table. He's going to be able to hold his own. Alrighty, let's move into our second, and this is actually my favorite aspect to play with him, and this is leadership. We have Cannonball, which is the ally that reduces the consequential damage based on the amount of aerial cards in your hand, which basically means Cannonball is not going to die. We can Voltron Cannonball, we can throw all of these upgrades and attachments onto Cannonball as well as Psylocke here, right? So we have two Voltron targets. If we want to, we can run Iron Man and just do the whole Voltron thing, and we can put the upgrades and just let them go and zoom. Also, leadership has a lot of ways to draw cards. Angel's cards are very, very powerful, and so the ability to draw cards is going to get you into those aerial events easier and quicker, which is then going to have a really high impact on the game. We also have cards like Air Supremacy, which makes a lot of makes a comeback. It's the comeback kid now, right? Like, I never ran Air Supremacy because you have to have a number of aerial targets to exhaust to deal damage. With Angel, Cannonball, run a couple of the other, I don't know, Pixie or whatever, any of the aerial characters, you're going to be able to use Air Supremacy fairly easily, which is kind of fun. It is kind of fun and fairly matchup dependent, but it's a good one. Then in second place, we have Protection. Protection is here because Ever Vigilant is an amazing card for Angel. It's a 2-cost event that allows you to ready your hero, remove 2 threat from a scheme, and then based on your form, if you're an Angel, you get to draw a card, or if you're an Archangel, you'll deal 2 damage to a enemy. So incredibly efficient card at this point. And combine that with like Starhawk, who's an aerial ally. Power of Flight can pay for Starhawk straight up, and he can pop back to your hand, and you can continue and just spam Starhawk. You can really game what's going on. Protection just has some really incredible targets for his abilities, and the allies are just really, really good in Protection. Then finally, the best aspect for Angel is Aggression. Angel can throw damage, and his Rush ability is incredible. Now, I want to talk about Rush here for a second, then I'm going to talk about Aggression, because I know that, like, Rush for Angel is incredibly powerful, but I know that a lot of people don't enjoy Rush, but I also want to make the argument that non-Rush Aggression is still Angel's best aspect. So just looking at the targets that we have for aerial cards. So Dive Bomb is a card that costs 4, 7 to 1 target, 1 to everything else. Since you get to add that damage in, or add the cost in with his Angel of Death ability, Dive Bomb is now dealing 11 damage to the villain for 4 resources. It's an aerial card, so Power of Flight is going to be able to help pay for that, and it is just incredibly it's just insane amounts of damage. Then you have Pitchback. So after you attack, you can use Pitchback to throw 4 damage at the villain for a cost of 1. So you can easily get 3-turn kills with Angel. He has so much damage output with virtually no setup. If you can get Techno-Organic Wings on the table, then that may help, but honestly, with these rush strategies, you don't even really need that. Now, if we want to talk about a little bit more control style play, or maybe like the tempo style play, you can still do it here. You have a lot of ways to manage threat in your kit, and then you can control damage. Or you can lean into Stun Lock with Adaptive Plumage and Dropkick and all the other ways that you can stun an Aggression. You can figure out a way to build Angel in a overkill build because he has that with Razor Dive. You have the ability to build him into a boot camp build with Cannonball, and you just run an army of allies. Why couldn't I think of that? An army of allies. There's just a lot of ways, and really Angel is able to just play into Aggression so very well because he can push fast, or he can hold back, let his kit do the threat stuff, all that stuff, and then you can focus on the Aggression cards to deal all the damage you need. Shuffle those Dive Bombs back in with Worthington Industries. Like, you're gonna have so many ways to play Dive Bomb for 11 damage that the game's gonna go pretty quick. So that's, I think, his best aspect. Let's take a look at the community and how they ranked his aspects. They had Justice in second place, but we did agree on aggression in that number one slot. The community also had an overall ranking of him at an A tier with a skew towards B. A slight skew is pretty heavily A. And I've heard people claim that Angel is one of the best characters in the game. I like to reserve kind of best character nomenclature for like the top 5. I don't think he is top 5, but I do think that he's a very solid A tier hero. We're gonna land him in the A tier between Cyclops and Ironheart, and this is actually the first hero we've ranked since the re-rank of everything. So if you want to see why this graphic looks different than last time, you can check out that video. But Angel is incredibly powerful. He has a little bit higher of a skill curve, so it's going to take a couple of games to get the flow of how Angel can be one of the better heroes in the game. But once you do, and once that clicks for you, you're going to have so many cards, so many options. You're going to be able to set up what those cards are with things like Mutant Education and Worthington Industries, shuffling the right cards in for the right situation that you're at. He has Stun and Confuse in his kit. He has answers to pretty much everything. And that's why Angel, after... how many games have I played? I need to log these better. I think it's around 30. I did a little bit more with Angel than I normally do for some of these new heroes because it took me a while to unlock him. And like now that I feel like I was like, ooh, it's almost like when something clicks for you, like if you're in like a sport, like I do a lot of disc golf, and like sometimes, I have a really good throw and I change this one thing. I'm like, yes, that was it. It clicked. After a couple of games, it felt like, oh my gosh, it makes sense now. And so Angel is very fun, he's very powerful, and I think in multiplayer this really doesn't change all that much. He's an incredible thwarter, so now that we have more threat on the table, because threat is scaled by number of players, he can be an incredible thwarting teammate. He can play into the minion control. He has cards like Bombs Away, deal 3 damage to everybody. Dive Bomb is stupid good. Angel's really solid. So yeah, that's what I think of Angel. I would love to hear what you think of Angel. What are your thoughts? Do you like Angel? Do you like his playstyle? Do you think that he deserves that number, or that top 10 spot with the A power list? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you for hanging out. It means a ton. And if you enjoy this kind of stuff, we're doing it all the time. So hit that like button, subscribe, stick around, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Peace.